Brothers and sisters in the Dharma, ladies and gentlemen, Your Holiness, we're deeply grateful, blessed and honored that you every year create the time to give of yourself and of your teaching to us. I think most of us feel most unworthy of this great blessing and this great privilege. May I just very briefly not intrude between the words of a great master and all of us here by just pledging our deep commitment to dedicating any merit that we gain from attending in these teachings, participating in them, and from any insights that we get to the benefit, to use your phrase, to the benefit of all sentient beings. Just a small matter of housekeeping that we are going to experiment with a break at 3 o'clock. This is just to sort of, for people who are attending our teachings for the first time, but it will need to be a very, very short break because His Holiness will leave at 4 o'clock. So we want to make the most of his time. And if that takes too long or doesn't work, we will dispense with it tomorrow. So please keep it very short. There will be tea and refreshments outside, but more of that later. Your Holiness, on behalf of the congregation, if I may use that word, may I present this scarf as a small token of our respect.
One mosquito. Oh?
Grow some here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Long time friend. Thank you. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everybody. Now, recent years, almost I think annually, our gathering. So thank our organizer. Then many of you, a long time our friend, quite familiar. And there are some of them I think new. So those persons who sort of first as they experience this meeting, raise hand. Quite some. Okay. Then I always describe myself as a, firstly, Buddhist monk, then, deeper way, simply one human being. So I'm one of the 7 billion human beings. There are no differences. Emotionally, mentally, physically also, we are same. Then most important, everyone, 7 billion human beings, want happy life. And I think 7 billion human beings also have the ability, to keep peace of mind, no matter what circumstances. So, it is quite useful and important to know more about the inner world, particularly mind and emotion. In order to develop peaceful mind, we need more fuller knowledge about mind, about emotion. Once we develop better knowledge, then we get more ability to tackle these destructive emotions. So main purpose of our gathering is to discuss about mind, emotions, these things. So that part, I think, can be universal. Whether believer or non-believer, same human being, same potential. And everybody wants a happy life, peaceful mind. So, first my commitment is promoting inner peace through secular way, not necessarily faith or belief. And then second, of course, those people who have certain sort of faith. It's very useful, you see, use the faith to keep peace of mind whenever you face some problem. Then those according to theistic religion, then remember God. Very helpful. Then, as a non-theistic way, non-theistic religious people use common sense and a realistic approach. Then you have the ability to keep peace of mind. And then, of course, like Buddhism, Jainism, and one part of Sankhyaism, their concept is law of causality. So, thinking this line also very, very helpful to keep peace of mind. So, I think here, my talk, I think at the beginning, I may mention some discussion about the different major religious tradition, in spite different philosophy, different history, all carry the same message of love or compassion, like that. Then, within different faith, Buddhism, and within Buddhism, I think mainly Pali tradition is the foundation of Buddha Dharma, and then Sanskrit tradition. We Tibetan Buddhist tradition directly come from Nalanda tradition. So, Pali tradition as the basis. Then on top of that, the Sanskrit tradition, much emphasis about infinite altruism and understanding about deeper reality that we call shunyata. So that these texts, you see, dealing with that subject. At the beginning, I want to read the prayer to 17 Nalanda masters, which I composed. Previously, 8 sort of Nalanda masters. Then I felt like Buddha Palita, Chandrakirti, Viveka, and Shandadeva, these are not mentioned, not included. So I felt the text of these scholars very, very important. So therefore, I add more,
9 more.
9 more, So altogether, 17 Nalanda masters. So now, first, let us
recite.
Read that.
Should I start? Okay. The God of gods arise from the compassionate wish to benefit wandering beings. Please say together. Has attained transcendent protection, abandonment, and realization, and liberates sentient beings through teaching dependent arising. I bow my head to you, the conqueror, son amongst teachers. I call to mind esteemed Nagarjuna, who, as prophesied, introduced the Madhyamaka system, the excellent path, and who was skilled in clarifying the meaning of suchness, free from extremes, the intention of the mother of the conquerors, through the profound logical presentation of dependent arising. I call to mind the Bodhisattva, Aryadeva, his principal spiritual son, peerlessly learned and accomplished, who traversed the ocean of Buddhist and other philosophical systems, who is the glorious crowning jewel amongst all the holders of Nagarjuna's teachings. I call to mind esteemed Buddha Palit, who clarified the ultimate meaning of dependent arising, the thought of the superior, the essential point of the profound existence as mere designation and name, and who has ascended to the utmost state of accomplishment. I call to mind Acharya Bhav Vivek, who introduced a philosophical system that refuted such extremes as truly existent production and accepted the shared perception of valid cognizers and external objects. I call to mind Chandrakirti, who promulgated the complete path of the sutras and tantras, who was skilled in expounding the profound and the vast middle way system, in which appearance and emptiness eliminate the true extremes through dependent arising and the merely conditional nature of things. I call to mind the Bodhisattva Shantidev, who was skilled in teaching the host of fortunate disciples the truly marvelous path of great compassion, with the versatile means and reasons of the profound and the vast. I call to mind the great Abbot Chandarakshit, who introduced the middle way to suit the disciples' mental dispositions, was well versed in the expounding the rationale of the middle way and valid cognition, and disseminated the teaching of the conqueror in the land of snows. I call to mind the esteemed Kamalashil, who thoroughly explained how to meditate systematically on the middle way through thought free from existence and the union of meditative quiescence and spatial insight according to the sutras and tantras, and flawlessly clarified the conqueror's doctrine in the land of snows. I call to mind esteemed Asanga, who Maitreya inspired and looked after, who was adept in disseminating all the Mahayana sets of discourses, who revealed the vast path and, as prophesied, blazed the trail of the mind-only system. I call to mind esteemed Acharya Vasubandhu, who, by maintaining doubly empty system of 7 treatises of the Abhidharma, clarified the philosophical theories of Vaibhashik, Sautrantikas, and Vijnanavadas, the foremost sage, renowned as a second omniscient one. I call to mind esteemed Dignaga, the logician who gave us the discerning eye of fine discrimination by thoroughly opening 100 epistemological doors to reveal the system of Buddha's scriptures through the power of natural logic. I call to mind esteemed Dharmakirti, who fathomed the vital points of Buddhist and other systems of knowledge, granting conviction in the vast and profound path of Sautrantika and Chittamatra, and who was adept in expounding the marvelous ways of the Dharma. I call to mind esteemed Vimuktisena, who lit the lamp illuminating the meaning of the ornament of clear realization in accordance with the middle way system, free from the extremes of existence and non-existence, the meaning of the perfection of wisdom as it came from the Asanga brothers. I call to mind esteemed Haribhadra, who clarified the 3 mothers, the supreme perfection of wisdom scriptures, in line with Maitreya Nath's pith instructions, and who the conqueror prophesied would expound the meaning of the mother. I call to mind esteemed Gunaprabha, excelling in stability and learning, who integrated the intentions of 100,000 categories of Vinaya and, in accordance with the Sarvastivadana system, thoroughly and unmistakably explained individual liberation. I call to mind esteemed Shakyaprabha, the ideal Vinaya holder, master of the treasure of the three precepts qualities, who, in order to ensure the longevity of the flawless Vinaya teaching, thoroughly explained what the vast scriptures meant. I call to mind Jo Adisha, the kind Lord who caused the conqueror's teaching to flourish in the land of snows, who expounded in the paths of the three individuals the doctrines of the vast and the profound that are the complete teaching of the conqueror. Making such invocations with an unflinchingly pure mind to these exceedingly fine sages, who are the ornaments for the world and the source of stupendous, elegant teachings, may I be blessed that I may mature my mind stream and achieve liberation. By understanding the meaning of the two truths, the way things exist, we ascertain through the four truths how we arrive in and how we leave the cycle of existence. Engendered by valid cognition, our faith in the three refuges will be firm. May I be blessed to establish the root of the path to liberation. I call to mind. May I be blessed to perfect an uncontrived awakening mind of Bodhichitta, which is rooted in renunciation, the aspiration to liberation, and the total purification of suffering and its sources, and that boundless compassion that wishes to protect wandering beings. May I be blessed to be able to develop a quick and easy conviction about the profound paths on the paths of perfection of wisdom and the Vajrayana, by listening to, contemplating, and meditating on the meaning of the commentaries of the great pioneers. May I, in life after life, obtain the good basis of a human life, possessing the three precepts, and contribute to the doctrine as the great pioneers did, with respect to upholding and propagating the words and insights of the teachings through explanation and practice. May all religious assemblies be filled with noble sages and practitioners, passing their time in hearing, contemplation, and explanation, and having totally given up wrong livelihood. May the ground of this great world be adorned in this way. By such power, may all the grounds and paths of the sutras and tantras be traversed, and by quickly achieving the state of an omniscient conqueror, spontaneously fulfilling the two purposes, may I work for sentient beings as long as space remains.
렉자 시카시고 시하고 주는 나왔는데 하셨대. In case some Sanskrit word, I think awesome. I think. So now these great Nalanda masters, one way, all these are bhikshu, so Buddhist practitioner. But from the viewpoint of their knowledge and the way pursue truly scholar, thinkers, and the way to investigate, since Buddha himself, you see, told his disciple, "Oh, my follower, bhikshus and scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So the follower of Buddha, like Nagarjuna and the Chantakirti, they actually examine Buddha's own word, certain Buddhist sort of teaching, some text. So they investigate. If you accept literally some Buddhist teaching, it contradicts with the reasons. So they reject. Although this is Buddha's word, Buddha's teaching, but we should not accept literally. So from that aspect, Buddha and his follower consider as a scientist, they emphasize importance of investigation and experiment, not faith. So usually I describe these 17 masters of Nalanda. I usually describe professors of Nalanda. Truly, firstly, I think their language, Sanskrit language, top class. And then the way think, investigation, purely logical way, and experiment, not just faith. So these are, I think, not only ancient sort of teaching or master, but I think today's world, I think their sort of way of investigation, I think very relevant to today's world. And then all those masters which I mentioned and their followers, I think hundreds, all are Indian, not Tibetan. So we usually call India as a sacred land, right? Habayu, Sugwarada.
Arya land.
Arya land. So, I just learned through one talk or conversation, the Aryan land, actually in Iran. Oh, so Arya Bhumi start Iran. So in any way, and because of the new civilization,
The three Indus Valley
civilizations. Indus Valley civilization. This is related with this area, like that. So in any way, this country, I think, really produce many thinkers, very scientific way of thinking. And we Tibetan simply, learned from you. So I usually describe Indians, our teacher, our guru. We are Chela, student. Then sometimes I teasing my Indian friends. Ancient Indian, not modern Indian. Ancient Indians, our guru. Modern Indian, not very sure. I think most of modern Indian leaders educated either in England or America in this area. Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikramalashila, all these now ruined. Nothing there. Then, of course, many spiritual leaders here, I think they completely carry pujas and rituals. I think not adequate pay attention about study. These ancient, very complex philosophical views. I think that, I think we, Tibetan Buddhist tradition, I think we kept that still alive. in order to become authentic sort of scholar, you need 20, 30 years rigorous study. So, in this country, I think Buddhists and non-Buddhists, I think should pay more attention about study, learning. That's very important. Otherwise, you see, the modern education, modern technology, these year by year further sort of develop. Then traditional sort of knowledge, you see, remain the simple way, worship and ritual. I think must uplift through study, through debate. It is very, very important. Then modern Indian also can be our guru. At the present sort of level, I think difficult to accept as a guru. So then also you see, when you sort of read, you see these masters, our main sort of text is wrote by these masters. The root text we memorize, including myself. Of course, officially, Dalai Lama, reincarnation of Chenresi, they put me on throne. But as far as study is concerned, I carry study, just a normal student. So my tutor always keep one whip. So it is unthinkable, whip for our Lugudishwara, impossible. So you see, they consider me as one young student. So my tutor kept one whip. At that time, so my elder brother also used to study together. So 2 whips, one for me, one for my brother. So difference is, my whip is yellow color. So suppose holy whip. I have sort of sufficient sort of intelligence. Even holy whip use, I don't think any holy pen, simply pen. So I afraid. So that way, you see, we start study. Firstly, memorize all these root texts. In my case, age, I think 6, 7, already start memorizing. Then, of course, at that time, I have no interest. My only interest is play, nothing else. So then age about 10, then memorizing commentary, you see, these root texts. Then I think age 12 or 11, I think 12. Then start debate. So
Debate, dialectical debate.
Dialectical debate. So then, I think till 24 years, I carry study. I think around 15, 16, then some interest within myself, then carry more study. But then the political situation also used to become a little bit difficult. Then my visit Peking, and then in 56 came to India. So as far as my study is concerned, a little disturbances like that. But then after they, according English was that, sorry that. The
So at the age of 24, according to the Western calendar.
Final examination, 1959. And then things become they're out of control, escape, then reach India. And I re-study, reviewed study. And many of these masters' text, then I start to read and think. So till now, whenever I have opportunity, sufficient time, I always read these masters sort of writing. So there is Tibetan saying,
so it is said that if you read a text 9 times, you'll gain 9 different understandings.
So that's very true. And the history book, read once, finished. These philosophical books, read, think, again read. You see, your understanding become deeper. And then also, you see, like the, among these sort of scholars, among themselves, all are follower of Buddha. A lot of debate. Even generations. One master states something, then another master has opposed that. Then their disciple also, you see, carry continuously this debate with different views. So reading, now for example, the Nagarjuna's student, the Bodhichitta. Then after that, Bhavabhiga raised a lot of questions and critics about Bodhichitta's sort of writing. Then after that, Chandakirti raised all those critical views and then answer. So you see, read all those different texts because of the different views, and debate is immense help. You see, to get deeper understanding. Read just one book and then accept whatever they say as almost blind faith. That's not Nalanda tradition. Read different views, different argument, then think, analyze. That's the Nalanda tradition. So we Tibet also, you see, those bigger, also the learning center, monastic institution, they carry that tradition. So within Tibetan masters, a lot of sort of debate. It's very good, very helpful. Now that is our way. So Tibetan Buddhism is actually authentic Nalanda Buddhist tradition. Some people, you see, describe Tibetan Buddhism as a Lamaism. I think including myself, Dalai Lama, and also Degul Rinpoche, I think we usually, you see, become something significant in the society. And many lamas, you see, have some kind of special privilege in the society. So reincarnation is almost become social status. Right? Not take measure about their knowledge or their experience. Simply high throne, then people say, oh, high lama. Silly. Out of ignorance, I think. All these Nalanda masters, and also the Tibetan masters, all come from ordinary level, then study, practice, like that. So some way, I think, because of the popular survey, public level, I think due to lack of understand, lack of knowledge, just, you see, consider the kasota, position like that. So, I think some Western visitors, you see, at Tibet, they found in Tibet society, the Lama position is something very, very important. So therefore, eventually they call Lamaism. And also some high Lama with wife, drink, unlike Burma, Sri Lanka, Thai Buddhist. So then they give the name Lamaism. So actually, Tibetan Buddhism, as I mentioned earlier, truly, Nalanda tradition, the person who introduced Buddha Dharma in Tibet, 8th century, Shandarakshita, is a follower of Nagarjuna, great logician. I think as far as scholarly, I think Shandarakshita, Kamalashila, I think more sort of scholarly sort of writing. Then I think Atisha. Chunjung Jasa Samare. Chunjung Jasa, the Mingdi Chunjung Slushabela, Pejadi Chunjung Slushtuati. So Atisha sort of writing, small writing, not big sort of the text like Shandarakshita and Kamalashila. Really, very hard text, very difficult. We need a lot of effort, a lot of read, again, think, otherwise it's difficult. So that's introduction about Tibetan Buddhism. Then, through my own experience, now last over 30 years, I have serious sort of discussion with scientists in different fields. Cosmology, neurobiology, physics, particularly quantum physics, then psychology. When we discuss with scientists, of course, we never study science, but when we sit together and discuss, the meaning is already quite familiar, and we can discuss also equal level. Wonderful. Many scientists now, after 30 years, sort of acquaintance, many scientists really appreciate ancient Indian psychology. They really appreciate. So many occasions I express, now you Indian should pay more attention about your ancient knowledge. Very, very important. Very important. So I hope it's a serious study about ancient Indian logics and psychology and different philosophical thinkings. I think really worthwhile study. I hope, you see, eventually some institution, especially for that subject, I think should come. Then eventually it can be international learning center, like that. Not necessarily Buddhist, but as an academic subject. Non-believer also they can join. These are universal sort of knowledge, right? Universally sort of related. So therefore, out of the 300 volumes which translated from India, about 15, 20 translated from Chinese language. The rest, 300 volumes, all from India. So we say now, I say, compiled. They content these 300 volumes divided 3 parts. Science, science of mind, science of matters, only science. No concept of good or bad, simply what's the reality. That we can consider as a science. Then second part, philosophy, certain concept. For example, truth. So many scientists really loves these sort of philosophical views, truth on the basis of appearances, and one truth, ultimate reality. Very good. The Four Noble Truths, more related with Buddha Dharma. But true truth is something universal. And then the concept of impermanence. These also, now atomic level, you can see momentarily changing. Impermanent, momentarily changing. So that is second part. The third part, as a Buddhist religion or Buddhist as a Buddhist practice. So the first part, now last, I think over 2 years, we worked now completely compiled the first part. So now within this month we start English translation, Hindi translation, and Chinese translation. Then simultaneously Mongolian translation also they promised. Then eventually I think Korean translation, Japanese translation will follow. Once English translation finished, then Spanish translation, French translation, German translation, Italian translation, I think Italian translation, my long-time friend. So I think may happen like that. So, so I wish eventually in this country, the first part of science about mind, about matter. I think matter is concerned, the last 20 years, 30 years, become very, as a result of contact with modern scientists, it become very clear as far as matter is concerned. Learning from scientific finding is immense benefit to us. Although matters also mentioned like Abhidhamma and some other text, but quite because of the grosser level. The modern sort of science, highly developed. Now, for the inner science, or science of mind, emotion is concerned, Western psychology is something like a kindergarten level. Ancient Indian psychology, highly developed. So many Western scientists really appreciating. So they are very, very eager to get more information like that. So once we said that books, so in, translation finished, completed, and I think some of your institution can use. Right? So that is as a kasota, also chelak kikenlia kasoti, kasoti tukjili bishya.
So this is kind of a paying a token of gratitude from the Chela side to the gurus.
Oh. So logically, it is really our moral responsibility. We kept over 1,000 years all those ancient Indian knowledge. So this actual, the original owner of this knowledge is Indian, not Tibetan. So you should learn these things. You should revive these things. Yeah. Now the first, as a human being, human level, we really need effort to educate, to promote awareness, the ultimate source of happy life, joyful life is within ourselves. Now scientists also say healthy mind is very, very important for healthy body. I think some extent, except my knees problem, my peace of mind, not much help. My knees. Otherwise, basic sort of physical condition, blood pressure, all these, I think peace of mind really makes differences. Recently, one Nobel laureate meeting, some my old friends, some Nobel laureates together. So then we just, you see, during lunchtime, we talk, sort of all everything, so all sorts of things, nonsense, right? Casual talk, or gossip. And then we touch age. And I asked that Nobel laureate, his age, about I think beginning 70 or something. Then I mentioned, now my age, now nearly 79 or 78. He doesn't believe. No, must be wrong. Then I told, no. The year my birth, 1935. He still refused, no, must be wrong. So he felt, judging my face, much younger than 78. So many my friends, in spite, in some cases, now for example, this old monk, he spent 18 years in Chinese Gulag, a lot of torture. But his mind very peaceful, because he always remember or practice compassion, particularly compassion towards Chinese, because of perpetrators. So once we met, he told me, during 18 years, a few occasions he faced some danger. I asked him, what kind of danger? Then he answered me, danger of losing compassion towards perpetrator. Because such mental attitude really gives peace of mind, no matter how difficult lives. So afterward, we mentioned, you see, our scientific meetings. And then some scientists want to interview or test some of these ex-prisoners. And afterward, after they sort of test or interviewed, they found, there is no sign of trauma. Very peaceful mind. So although, you see, they difficult life, but there is possibility to keep peace of mind. So result, physical, also, you see, they're more healthier like that. So, as far as sort of they keep more warm-heartedness or sense of concern of others' well-being, from birth, we equip that. We come from our mother. We received maximum affection from our mother. with mother's milk. Everybody, 7 billion human beings, come that way. So those people, anyone who received immense affection from mother, they already have the seed of compassion, sense of affection to other. So therefore, this is not depend on religious faith. So long, human being, social animal, come from mother, grown up with mother's affection. So we all have the potential. Only problem is when we are young, these experiences are very, very sort of relevant. Gradually, grown up, we get the feeling, oh, I can manage everything myself, not depend on other. Then I think, on top of that, existing modern education, not talking about this inner value. Existing modern education system is oriented about material value. So then gradually, whole generation who come from that kind of education is, I think they oriented sort of a materialistic oriented life or way of thinking, way of life, a culture. So then all these potential becomes dormant. So here, education include on the basis of scientific finding and of common experience and of common sense, educate. Then the seed, with help of human intelligence, then can grow further. The biological factor of compassion is biased, very much oriented about your own friends or close people, right? And very much oriented about their attitude. Even your mother or brother, one day attitude change, they're no longer affection. Now through using our intelligence and understanding, we are a social animal. Individual's future depends on the society. The society's future depends on the nation, or ultimately humanity. So use our intelligence, educate the reality. Global warming and the ecology problems, and then global economy. All these now telling us 7 billion human beings must work together. Full cooperation. The serious sort of threat or danger, and population also now increasing. When I first come to India, population 6 billion, now 7 billion. According to some statistics say, end of this century, population will reach 10 billions. Nature resources already showing some limitation. So problem will increase. So now, I think thinking, my nation, my community, I think that out of date, old thinking. In ancient time, small group, okay. Now that completely changing. So we have to, for selfish reason, for your own interest, you have to take care seriously about interest of the community, interest of the entire, ultimately entire humanity. So through education, we can teach younger generation. So through education, then at the beginning, the biological factor, affection there. Now, grown up through education, that further develop the biological factor, compassion towards your friends. With help of intelligence, they further develop, then that level of compassion is aiming humanity. Not my friend or my relative, but humanity. So then including your enemy. Enemy, as far as the attitude is concerned, negative, but still part of the community, part of the humanity. So they also deserve our affection. Right? So use human intelligence through that way, I think. So now in education field, we must sort of include some education about moral ethics. Now, in the terms of humanity, over 1 billion are non-believer. So there is no other alternative except, again, ancient Indian sort of culture or secularism. Indian constitution based on secular. So according to Indian understanding, secular does not mean disrespect religion, but respect all religions. Now, for example, the father of India's constitution, Dr. Ambedkar, very religious-minded. Later he became Buddhist. And I think Dr. Krishna, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, very religious-minded. And Mahatma Gandhi, all these freedom fighters, great leaders of India, all very religious-minded. But they create constitution based on secularism. So according to Indian understanding, secular never sort of some kind of meaning of distance from religion or disrespect. So one unique thing, not only respect all religion, but also respect non-believer. One clear example, Charvaka, ancient materialistic, or nihilism, denying any value of spirituality. So, rest of Indian school of thought criticize Charvaka's view. But meantime, person who hold that concept refer rishi, means sage. So that indicates respect. One time, Advani, we discussed about that, about the reason why very successful democratic practice in this country. Sometimes I think too much democracy, too much freedom. Then lot of time used for debate little things, neglect about bigger issues. So he told me this example, Charvaka, the rest of spiritual tradition, criticize, sometimes condemn, but meantime respect. So that's the 1,000-year-old India's tradition of secular. Respect not only religious tradition, different religious tradition, but also respect non-believer. I think that's very, very relevant to today's world. As I mentioned earlier, over 1 billion human beings, non-believer. So quite a big number. And also it's important. They're also human beings. They also deserve our compassion, our love. So that's my number one commitment. Now we already, with help of full cooperation with some scientists, some brain specialists, some medical scientists, some thinkers, some educationists. Now in Delhi University, also now, since a few years, we seriously discussing these things. So now India, I think our Indian gurus, Indian brothers, sisters, you see, should think, revalue sorry, revalue, reevaluate ancient 1,000-year-old India's tradition. Not rituals, these things. That's okay. Carry continuously. But deeper rituals.
Values now.
Value.
Now to value.
The value of ancient Indian knowledge now must make clear and pay more attention. And then religious harmony. Again, India is the living example. Not only ancient time, over 3,000 years, homegrown different religious tradition lived together. Some argument, that's good. The further develop, synthesize and further develop. That's good. Then later, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam also come. Very, very settled. I always admire in Bombay, the Parsi community, nowadays less than 100,000 population, very small. Among millions of Hindus like that, have Christians. No fear. And a small Parsi community, very successful, isn't it? Economically, and also one India's hero, Manekshaw, also Parsi, isn't it? So I think in various fields, I think from small community, I think they really made significant contribution for India like that. So that's India. So no fear. Then recently I met Jodhpur. I met one Romanian. He carries some research work, the religious harmony in this country. He visited one Muslim village. Must be a few thousand population. So he found only 3 Hindu family, no fear. Completely. Very friendly. Sort of, because of the relations. So that's India. Of course, pockets here and there, some problems. That's understandable. Over 1 billion population, some mischievous people must be there. So that's understandable. But basically, I think very, very healthy. So, India is a living example. I think the second most populated nation. First, China. India, I think second. And 1,000 years religious harmony remain. So, there are other part of the world also, you see, I think can adopt that kind of practice. I think our immediate neighbor, Pakistan, and also Bangladesh, and also Burma, I think we should learn from India's tradition. In Pakistan, Muslim country, but you see Sunni and Shia problems there. So sometimes I jokingly sort of expressing, those Pakistan Shia community better come to India and settle here, no danger. In Islam country, Pakistan, more danger, isn't it? So I always mention when I give talk, whenever I give talk about religious harmony, I always mention India is a living example. So nowadays, you must realize that it also is your ancient treasure. Now you must make effort to grow this tradition further. Very, very important. So religious harmony. Now here, religious harmony does not mean all religion carry sort of same concept. No. We can make distinction, two aspects. Any tradition, spiritual tradition, the practice or real sort of teaching aspect. Then philosophical views, one aspect. Then I think could be another aspect, that's cultural aspect. So real religious aspect, all major religions carry same message of love. And all tradition recognize in order to practice love, because of the continuously, all religion accept obstacle. That's anger. So all religion teach us tolerance, forgiveness. And also too much greed, ambition, also you see obstacle about practice of infinite love. So therefore, all religion mention contentment. Many Hindu priests or Jain priests, then also Christians or Islams, Muslims, their life, serious practitioner, their life, very simplicity. I think President Pope, I think really emphasizes that. I think wonderful. I really admire his recent, the dismissal one German bishop. I think wonderful, wonderful. I think among Tibetan also, I think we need some kind of disciplinary action. Some lamas, some sort of geshes, little bit of luxuries. I think we should follow His Holiness Pope's sort of practice. Isn't it, Vijay? Right? So they all majorly tradition carrying practice of love, forgiveness, tolerance, and with that serving other people. I think in that aspect, I think Christian brothers, sisters, I think really, Christian, both Catholic and Protestant, I think really made maximum contribution regarding education all over the world. I noticed some remote area in India where facility poor, but we can see some Christian nuns really devoted work in the field of education and health. So there sort of such willpower come from their tradition. They really feel serving poor people is the right way serving God. And my Muslim friend mentioned one true as a practitioner of Islam must extend love towards entire creature of Allah. Wonderful, wonderful. So the religious aspect, practice aspect, all carry same practice. That's important. Now for that, for sort of strengthening that practice, the philosophical views then come. Philosophical view, yes, theistic religion their central sort of faith is creator. That also very powerful. We all created by God. So that also indicates we all have one way, we all human beings are truly brothers, sisters, come from same source. And then secondly, since we created by God, each of us have some kind of spark of God. So Buddhists call Buddha nature, Buddha seed. Quite similar. Entirely different way of thinking, or different philosophy. But you see, the same effect. The more you have sort of single-pointed faith, God, the more willingness to follow God's path. That's practice of love. And also, it's one time in Israel, so one meeting, one Jewish, one Israeli, as a teacher, he mentioned as a teacher, and he taught in his class, some Palestinian student also there, he mentioned those people who feel, those students who feel some sort of agitated feeling, then the person, usually you get some agitation, they think image of God. So after he sort of give that sort of teaching, then later some of his student, Palestinian student, report him after hearing that when they come across some Israeli checkpost, usually you get some irritation, then think image of God. Immediately, isn't that irritation? You see, because of that. Disappear. So very, very powerful. Very powerful. And then one time my Christian spiritual brother, I asked him, if you accept the previous life, and what is wrong? Then he answered me, this very life created by God. Very powerful. So this very life, you see, you call soul. This very soul directly come from God. So that brings very strong sort of intimacy feeling with God. So more sort of closeness feeling with God, more willingness to follow the God's sort of pattern or example. That's what love. God means infinite love. Okay. Then, non-theistic religion, of course, no concept of creator. So, according to the theistic religious viewpoint, then we non-theistics, because of we follow of non-theistic religion, is very sinful. By the way, and our next destination is go hell. But we believe, you see, non-theistic religious follower aiming Buddhahood. So big contradictions, big different views. But that's personal business. One time, you see, one Christian Catholic monk, wonderful monk. So he used to practice some Buddhist technique like compassion or forgiveness, tolerance, or single-pointed meditation. So these are common things, so we discuss. One day he asked me about emptiness. Then I told him, that's not your business. That is Buddhist business. Don't ask that. And recently, last year in Bangalore, I met one sort of the Hindu, one because of a Hindu spiritual organization, and the leader, wonderful. I can't remember their name. You see, they really committed providing meal for thousands students in that area. So they built special sort of mission, making meals like that, and special because of made truck, they carry food like that. Wonderful. So in their temple, so we did together some prayer. Then he asked me, I think so, some discussion, some talk. Then I told him, yes, Buddhism and Hinduism is like twin brothers, sisters. Practice of shamatha, same. Practice of vipassana, also basically same. And shila, shamatha, vipassana, all three training. Lamasum. Shila, samadhi, pranja. Basically same. Then I told him, the real demarcation, Hindus or non-Buddhists and Buddhists, is concept of Atma and Anatma. So that's private business. I believe Anatma, you believe Atma, so no problem. Like that. So I always look, what is the purpose of these different philosophy? And same. Develop firm conviction, practice of love, compassion. No problem. So, then cultural aspect. Even Buddhism usually is completely equal. Buddha deliberately, you see, what's the because of the opposed caste system. And that even Chairman Mao Zedong, 1954, 55, I was in Peking. One occasion, Mao Zedong, which he told me, he considered Buddha Shakyamuni was a revolutionary. So existing sort of social injustice, Buddha opposed that. So he mentioned that. However, in the, what's it? When you say monk, Buddha is give equal sort of opportunity, equal right, men and women, bhikshu and bhikshuni. However, when we together, the bhikshu consider higher, bhikshuni lower. That, and then meantime, in Tantrayana, the special emphasis, if you sort of look down female, one kasoda.
One of the tantric downfalls.
One
That
tantric.
you commit.
Oh,
One of the
tantric.
tantric downfalls.
Oh, love that, love that.
So if you despise women in tantra, it's considered to be one of the tantric root downfalls.
So therefore, you see, basically, you see, they equal. Oh. So there's some sort of discrimination when we're together. So that I feel a cultural aspect, the social sort of kasoda, heritage in India. You see, men, little bit of men kasoda, dominance. That's everywhere, except one small island in Pacific. I was told, which, you know, maybe that, I don't know. One small island, small population. There, mother is supreme. All decision taken by mother, female, I was told. Otherwise, you see, I think everywhere, male dominance is there. So that, I think, cultural aspect. Just this morning, some Indian friends with some discussion. So I mentioned, like Islam, the Sharia, sort of some detail, what's it, kasoda, because of that, timjue,
rules.
Rules. I think at that time, I think in that part of the world, more nomadic life. So it's some criminal people there. So you see, in the Quran also is mentioned. You see, according to that sort of circumstances, so it becomes something important. Then also the Quran also you see mentioned how to deal with feudal, the slave. So because of the circumstances, so cultural aspect of that religion, you see, the existing sort of habit, you see, include. So like that. Then also I think the Judaism also I think eye to eye, nose to nose, isn't it? If your eye is something suffering, then take other's eye. Looks, you see, no practice of tolerance or forgiveness. But this, I think, we must make distinction. The real teaching and cultural aspect. So now the important, why I make this distinction is cultural aspect. The society changing, mainly through education, changing. So like India, untouchable sort of these things are sort of old-fashioned. The caste system, old-fashioned. Cultural aspect now must change. The new reality, new time, some of the old sort of cultural heritage must change. I think including Buddhism. Of course, I cannot decide. The Buddha only exception himself. He have the sort of free to do this, to give the commands, precepts to his follower monks. No one have the right to change that. Only gathering, Sangha. Sangha have the authority change. No single. So that's why you see the bhikshunis, some Westerners, you see, complaining to me, you have the right, authority to decide. That's out of ignorance. I have no authority. Change some Vinaya rule. We must follow according to the Vinaya sort of text. And if we want change, then the scholars, bhikshu scholars, come together and discuss. So then this, even I think Tibetan bhikshu alone will not decide, since the Vinaya practice is common. Theravada tradition, Mahayana tradition, all Vinaya same. So we need some kind of international Buddhist bhikshus conference and then decide some change. Otherwise, you see, you can't do. So in any way, I think we need certain precept, certain practice, which develop due to certain circumstances, cultural heritage. I think some part, I think we have to rethink. So other religious tradition also, I think, now time come to think. So some debate, the female priest, some discussions, Church of England, female priest, yes. Recently in Washington Cathedral, the main Archbishop or something. Sorry, because Acharya.
Episcopal bishop.
Oh, bishop, female. Wonderful. So you see the things, you see now some you see topics now, some issues, these things. I think we should think, make distinction. Religion, real practice, Then philosophical, that also you see, I think more or less, I think we must follow the authentic way. Then the cultural aspect, different circumstances, different area, I think we have to make some modification. That we can do. Okay. So basically, all major religious tradition, you see, carry same message, same effect. We can see about billion Christians, about billion Muslims. I think about 600 or 700 Hindus, and then a few hundred millions of Buddhists. Basically, if we sincerely follow, sincerely, sort of seriously practice, then same effect, same potential. And then also, I often is telling people, not only non-believer, but even among believer, there are quite a number of corrupted believer there. So these are clearly shows lack of firm conviction about moral principle. So that religious teaching, repeat 1,000 times, not much effect. So systematic sort of education through kindergarten up to university level about moral ethics. Then religion also is become more serious or the sincere practitioner. Otherwise, you see, I usually used to call, unless we follow religion seriously or sincerely, otherwise religion teaches us practice of hypocrisy. I think myself as a holy person, holy Dalai Lama, or speak some nice thing, and then behind doing something different thing. A hypocrisy, isn't it? So recently I was in Mexico. I think last year. Last year. One a Catholic college or university or something.
University, Pontifical
University. Pontifical University.
Pontificate.
So they invited me to talk. Many bishops there. So then I expressed, of course, my basic sort of the talk as the religious harmony and these things. Then also I mentioned, sometimes it looks religious faith on dress. So long you dress, Buddhist monks dress or Christian, sort of what's it there? That dress looks religious person. As soon as dress, as what the Buddhist side, then no longer genuine practitioner. So one bishop, he very much appreciate or love, agree. So next day, he came to see me, and he very much support, that my comment. Very sincere, very serious. So sometimes among the believer also some corrupted people there. So that is very harmful for the teaching, like that. Nowadays, some really corrupted Tibetan Buddhist monks and Buddhist lamas, because in China, now Buddhist population, over 400 millions. Now China become the biggest Buddhist populated nation, like that. So there are people, including Tibetan, exploiting that, like that. So we really need more seriously look about these matters. Break? How many minutes? 5 minutes? 5 minutes. Quick.
So we'll have a very short break, as His Holiness has requested. There is some...
Firstly, you mentioned. Then I just repeat that.
So the break is my idea, and the duration is yours.
Oh, yes. No, more precise, yes, very good. I thought I think the explanation about Buddha Dharma, one I think word itself, I think Sanskrit. Sanskrit. And also I think the Pali tradition also I think used that mantra. So the Omayatarma Hidu Tambawa Hidu Tekan Tatanga to Hewan the Tekanda Neruda Yawamba the Ma Shamana saw. That digi Pagar Sutu Shavadi, Chana Tamji Julisum, Tigudishi Shiverson, Julan Oba Kayimba, Kishon Tegasons, Deshisung.
So this verse, which is His Holiness just recited in Sanskrit, the translation goes like, everything comes from causes, and those causes were taught by the Tathagata, and the cessation of the causes also were taught by the Tathagata.
Chazanga, di anda, Julan Gokwa Kayimba, and Sunya Digi. Koa digi, gun any dungi duty, sungi with the Savisharisha. Could there do in Goga Kimdua? Chita Lumadang doing in Goga Kimdua. Ta under the Julan Goba Kain Bas, Sunya Digi, Koa Karislavna, Yigita, Regulation Sidadi, Maranzuta, Rangangangi, Dewan Deva to Dungami doing his name, Didu Nivuti, Jultan Chumaris. That dinner any Dungi duty. 머리배 왕초리스 미시배 왕그리스 진리인도 인수시에 로티기 아니 가족으로 보게 아니 미시배다 머리버디 세토리스 진리인도 결론 고박하게 봐서 자상가 머리버 빵배 아니 자외 연대지 그 요리스 다디는 토토리스 어떻게 자다 되게 동네도 뭐 그저도 뭐 고배도 바람지도 뭐 디십시 됨 디시셔.
So here, when the Buddha, in this verse, we just heard that it said that the cessation of those causes were also taught by the Tathagata, the Shramana. And here, the cessation of the cause, the cause itself refers to the cause of suffering, because earlier. In the first line, it said that everything comes from cause. That cause also refers to the cause of suffering, and therefore, otherwise, I mean, if it doesn't refer to the cause of suffering, there's no need to talk about cause here, referring to the causes which bring about happiness, joy, and also causes or karmic causes which are neutral. There's no need to mention, but here the particular cause is the cause of suffering. Now, the cause that is to be seized or abandoned is the cause of suffering. And this cause also, as it said in the first line, everything comes from cause. What we instinctively want is happiness and not suffering. And why we have suffering is because of our being under the influence or under the force of the ignorance about true things, the reality of things. And therefore, in order to stop the suffering, the cause of suffering, what we need is the understanding, insight into the true nature of things, the reality of things, through which we can stop the cause of the suffering. And therefore it says that the cessation of that cause also is taught by the shamana. And so here the cessation refers to, what this shows is that there is a possibility to attain a state whereby you are free from all kinds of suffering. And therefore, this particular verse also shows the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Truth of suffering, the truth of origin of suffering, and then the truth of cessation, and then true path.
So, Buddha's first teaching about the Four Noble Truths, you see, that shows the basic Buddhist concept is law of causality. Cause and effect, cause and effect. That indicates no permanent creator. Everything due to its own causes. Now, cause here, action, that we call karma, action, and the action is whether become positive or negative is entirely dependent on motivation. So, the cause or action which causing suffering is motivated by destructive emotion, such as anger, hatred. And anger, hatred, very much related with attachment. Both attachment and anger very much related with ignorance. So one of my American friend, his name was
Aaron Beck.
Aaron Beck. Few years ago, I met Stockholm in Sweden. So he gave me one book, his own sort of, I'd say.
His own writing. His own writing.
His own writing. Something like Prisoner of Anger.
Prisoner of Hate.
Wonderful. So see, our discussion, he mentioned, then his age already 84. So really experienced scientist about mental disturbances. He mentioned when we develop anger, the object which appears something very negative, actually 90% of that negativeness is mental projection. That's exactly Nagarjuna mentioned. So therefore, this clearly shows, you see, the anger is very much, you see, related with ignorance, not reality, but mental projection, mental exaggeration. Similarly, attachment also much sort of involve mental projection. So therefore, so these destructive, we call destructive emotion, because it firstly destroy peace of mind. The secondly, you see, create or lead harmful action. Harmful action creates suffering result. Right? So therefore, we call such emotions, we call destructive emotion. The Sanskrit, glacier. Pina Yushabade, the Lexaranga Tandata Kasugre. So Tibetan translation, Nyomo. Nyomo means Motiwa, Nyomo Bachava, Chikpige, Mediva Sonechilla, Nyomo Sidua. Mipet, Chik Tungu Chik Narchitana, could Nyomo Bacha Sidua, or Trisha.
So the Tibetan term Nyuan has the meaning of the same meaning as klesha, which means making someone unhappy, unjoyful, and giving discomfort, causing discomfort within oneself and others.
So, suffering, cause of suffering is ultimately ignorance. Ignorance develop anger, attachment, these things. So that's first noble truth, second noble truth. Then since the ultimate causes of suffering is ignorance, so ignorance means, you see, the distorted sort of concept from reality.
No.
Distorted.
Misconception.
Misconception. So any misconception always have the counterforce, because it's a wrong conception. Because in all time, the
Distorted
knowledge which knows the reality is the opposite.
And so there's whenever there is an ignorance or wherever ignorance is, there's always an opposing force, which is knowledge.
No. So therefore, no matter how strong ignorance, it's always possible to eliminate, because knowledge based on the reality and a solid basis. So ignorance, no matter how strong, but no solid basis. So they familiarize, firstly, understand about reality. Then familiarize that, the conviction increase, that knowledge. Then more sort of stronger conviction, or knowledge, or understanding. Then the ignorance become thinner. Ultimately can eliminate. The ignorance, not part of nature of mind. Mind is clear, something like neutral. Mind combined with compassion or forgiveness, then mind become more positive. Mind combined with anger, hatred, fear, then mind become negative. So mind, basic nature of mind is something like colorless.
No.
Colorless. Red color, black color, green color. Then you see the changing. And then also you see any thought or any awareness, say, not like a physical sort of thing. Physical thing, you train certain sort of the ability. Then one period, not take continuously. Then you need again, you see, the physical.
Strenuous effort.
Oh, you need effort. But mental quality, once you train and reach certain level of experience, then no need
Extra
extra effort. Once you get the fuller knowledge and conviction, then as soon as you remember that, you develop firm conviction. No need re-effort, not like physical sort of thing. Mental thing is because of continuation of mind and the very nature of mental quality. Initially you need a lot of effort. Once you reach certain experience, then it remains continuously. So on this basis, you see, they mainly now Dignak, the great logician, epistemologist,
Epistemologist. No.
Dignac, you see, mentioned. And then his follower, the Dharmakirti, and the Parmanavatika Karika. Wonderful text, and also difficult text. Many Tibetan scholars, you see, learned by heart. One my friend, one great scholar, he told me he memorized by heart. 4 chapters. First chapter he feel okay. Second chapter, okay, easier. Third chapter. The fourth chapter, he really fed up with it.
So he felt really tired.
In the Persian, Persian, Shamdamata, Persian Komburcha Mendra. Chizan, Shoroga, the Yig Chung, Shiv Tasha, and better Shivuch, Zoju, better Shivuch, got a castle, Mursoni, Urzoji. So, numbers are Simdua.
So in this, regarding the 4th chapter, this master, in fact, a Mongolian, great Mongolian scholar, he had said that to His Holiness that when he was memorizing the 4th chapter, in fact, each page contained great too many text that is printed rather compactly, because it must have been the case that the people who printed the text must have run out of wood to make the wooden blocks for the text, and so everything is squeezed into one page.
So that's difficult sort of text, but very, very important. I think maybe early part of 20th century, maybe one Russian translated that. Samanamde. Shirvatsky. He translated into Russian. In Chinese, I don't think, in the ancient time, not translated. As a matter of fact, in Chinese Buddhist tradition, they not much pay attention about epistemology. Tibetan, right from the beginning, they much pay attention. So, the Dignag's writing and Dharmakirti's writing, all translated into Tibetan. Over 1,000 years we studied that and memorizing. My case, first chapter, some portion in the first chapter, and the second portion, second chapter, you see, some portions, but not complete. Too difficult. And of course, I can excuse easily, I'm Dalai Lama, very busy. So, like that. So, you see, all these reasons, detailed explanation, and also the Dharmakirtis, Chandakirtis,
Prasanapada.
You see, very good explanation, these things. So therefore, now through reasoning, then they mentioned possibility of cessation of suffering, because the causes of suffering is ignorance. So always possible to eliminate. Therefore, cessation is possible. That's the third noble truth. Then path to achieve that, mainly wisdom. Wisdom, there are three awareness, 3 levels. Hearing, Tujungshirab, Samjungshirab, Kumjungshirab.
So the 3 types of understanding that comes through hearing, and understanding that comes through reflection, and then understanding that comes through meditation.
So, and then these also the deeper sort of understanding of knowledge, and particularly because of the
So in order to develop this third type of understanding, you need a single-pointed concentration.
For that, mindfulness becomes very, very important. So therefore, practice of Shila is the foundation. So Shila, Samadhi, Prajna is systematic. So that
So the sequence is rather fixed in terms of developing these three understandings.
So that's the meaning of Yedharma, Hidu Tambawa, Hidu Dekan, Tatango to Hiwande, Dekanza in the Rayama, the Ma Shamana Soha. This mantra, common. The Pali tradition also used to use this mantra. Pegi, and the Hagan to Nalolia, the Yigit Kari Yigzigre, or to Sigre Kare. Lenza, Lenza Yigicheni, Dikwash of Mongshayare. Hagan Mongol Dikayare.
And so in the temples of the Tibetan temples, you'll find that in many of these temples, this particular mantra is written on the walls.
Then they, according Mahayana or Sanskrit tradition, the second Dharma wheel is Prajaparamita Sutra. So in Tibetan translation, I think at least about 20 volumes. Yum Gyava, Yum Jingbu, Yum Duva, and a Chikya Tongba. That reminds me, young Kare. She Rabja Namnigushib and Dosaro, and a Kare, Dojava, Tonda Kazirgote, Dojava, Tonda, Kare, Shalok
Dungyapa.
Dungyapa.
No.
Shijin Dungyapa. And then Shijin Yangaba, the Shilling Putrisha. Jenny Shijin Shumagudoa. Chen Budi, Pajin Yishusmento.
And so within the Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom literature, there may be about 20 different texts in the Tibetan translation, such as the 100,000 verses of the Prajnaparamita Sutra, and then the 25,000 verses, and then the 8,000 verses, and then 18,000 verses, and then there is also the 700 verses of the Prajnaparamita Sutra, which is also called the Vajrachetika, the Diamond Cutter Sutra, and then 25 verses, which is the Heart Sutra.
These are quite common in Chinese translation. Also, you see available this. And some, I think, Paramita Sutras, Chinese translation, some, I think, not available in Tibetan. So it is quite, quite useful. So check, and then compare, and some of those, see, Paramita Sutra, not available Tibetan translation, I think, eventually, now, to translate into Tibetan. And similarly, many texts, like the logic sort of text, not available in Chinese. Now some already now to translate into Chinese. So then the Heart Sutra usually we recite. Now the mantra of Heart Sutra is Teatha Gade Gade Paragade Parasamgade Bodhisattva. That's meaning. Its meaning is the Songshi Songshi Parado Songshi Parado Yangdaba Songshi Changju Shizu.
And so the meaning of this particular mantra of Heart Sutra is as referred by Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, and Bodhi, is that to say that go perfectly beyond, and go beyond, and go perfectly beyond, and then lay the foundation of Bodhi, or enlightenment.
So that is the actually further explanation about the out of Four Noble Truths, the fourth path, Lamji Tempa Sadadi. firstly, preparation stage. Then, more deeper experienced level about shunyata. Then, then 가서 돈이 무슨 또 왜? 통람. 녀들이야. preparation 처럼. then 돈이 왜 공주탑인데 처럼. 가디. 바라가디 사디 돈이 무슨 타면 니나 누비스 돈이 무슨 타고 내거디 다 무슨 타고 끝내 아니 파람체니 가르가데 바라가디 사디 다드네 아니 통방방네 공방 봉야기 다 고초윤사네 아니 공람 사디 되네 달 부디사하 사디 청주 시속 사디 다들이야 랑디 이직 삼배 군을란데 람디리 냠는 체베이나 냐랑 청주 셴벤 청주 무슨 군을란데 냠는 체베이나 다 부디서 청주 첨부 시속사지.
So here, what this mantra shows is a progression along the path to enlightenment or Buddhahood. And so the first gati refers to, it's like a preparation to that goal of enlightenment. And this particular phrase, gati, the word shows the path of accumulation. It's called the Sambhara Marga. And then the second gati refers to the path of preparation or path of application, sometimes it's called. And what you reach there is you gain an understanding or insight into emptiness through the power of meditation. And then after that, when you deepen your understanding further, you reach the path of seeing, Darshana Marga. And here what you attain is this the duality completely goes away from your vision when you see emptiness directly. And so at that point you do away with the negativities that are to be abandoned or to be overcome through the path of seeing. And then after that, what comes is the so that is shown by the third sentence or third word, which is paragate. Go beyond, and then the next word, parasamgati, shows the path of meditation, where you develop a path that is an antidote against those negativities which are to be overcome by this path of meditation. And Nice. And so here the meditation refers to the combination. So it refers to the combination of insight and concentration. And so from the path of seeing onwards, from the path of seeing onwards, then your meditation becomes this combination or union of insight and concentration, a single-pointed concentration. And then the Bodhi refers to the Bodhi Swaha means lay the foundation of Bodhi or enlightenment. And so with regard to this enlightenment here now referred by Bodhi, it could refer on the one hand to the Bodhi or enlightenment within the context of the Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha path, when you actually develop this insight into emptiness here with the motivation for yourself alone to gain enlightenment, then this kind of motivation and the path leads to that goal. Whereas when you are motivated by altruism, wishing to help others, serve other sentient beings more than oneself, then what that motivation leads you to is the Bodhi or enlightenment, which is the great enlightenment or Buddhahood.
다 창조소든 태고주니가로 다 창조소든 걸 남는 송그리 저다한테 데데 자만이샤시 양다봉시 제 양다봉시 조리 강바시 디디 페지 디미 처럼 거도디 자 되네 대서 원봉아 저진이 그러셔 또봉아 디 그래서 저점을 다지네 서버도 shoshaniche 되네 청주연아 된 셰이드산의 파람이야 사탕부르자 사탕만에 통람르자 되네 파람이라게 권론이야자 어디 자당하면 이도 즉 파람이나 제딩이야자 청주연아 된 권론자 쇼에도 가다시 소소도 람가도 따다로 되게 하래 다들이 자주 소도 거면 될래 가서 그게 랑딩 자네 저 랑도 이직 사백 그냥 랑딩 자네 장수도 거야지 다 장수도 거랬다 저번시 류저번시 소저번시 심저번시 최저번시 사디디 랑딩 조 상다는 거야지 현딩 조 상다는 거야지 되는 저번이 샷이 내로 상다는 거야지 진짜도
So, and then with regard to the practice of the path, there what is common between common to both the greater vehicle and the basic vehicle is the 37 what are known as the 37 37 practices leading to enlightenment. Yes. So in Sanskrit, they are called 37 Bodhipaksha, and so these 37 Bodhipaksha are the four establishment of mindfulness, and then the four exertions, and four perfect exertion, and then the four miraculous feet. And so these parts of the 37 parts refer to are related to the path of accumulation, and then next comes the five sets of five sets of faculties, and which related to the path of preparation, the second path referred in the Heart Sutra, within which there are four stages. And so these five faculties refer to the what are known as the heat and peak of the path, and then next comes the five powers, which refer to the next two stages within the path of preparation, which are called forbearance and the supreme sublime dharma. And then the seven next comes the seven factors of enlightenment, and or seven factors of enlightenment, which are related to the path of seeing. And then next comes the Eightfold Noble Path. And so these are referred to or related to the path of meditation. So although there are different views about this, relating to the Eightfold Noble Path also can be related to the path of seeing as well. And therefore, now with regard to cultivating these 37 practices or factors, what you can do is, you can relate these practices. For example, with regard to the four mindfulnesses, the mindfulness of body, mindfulness of sensation, mindfulness of mind, and then mindfulness of mental objects. These can be cultivated in relation to one's own body, feeling, and so forth, as well as in relation to the body, feeling, and so forth of other beings and other things as well. And
준주나리아 동인소인도 전에 네 그렇습니다. 천만시 시간에 동이 자용도가 최신 수속된 그 돈이 거면 소외된 그 돈이 거면 독신 거면도
And so in Master Shantideva's Bodhisattvacharya Avatara, Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, when he teaches or relates the teaching on emptiness, he in fact deals it within the context of the cultivation of the four mindfulnesses, such as called mindfulness of body and so forth.
There's the basis of emptiness.
Yes. It's a basis.
No. Kada sukta banyishaki, the chushan suk chuni komya.
Yes. And so
Sowe chuni komya, namshik chuni komya.
And so, as what Master Shantideva goes through is when he teaches the meditation on emptiness, he uses the form and so forth as the basis for meditation on emptiness. So you meditate on emptiness of body, emptiness of sensations, emptiness of mind, and then emptiness of phenomena.
Then Parliament like yes said, at the letter Wubicum Yamni Chachi Sukua. Yala gave a dosaji or to get Yala gave a dosaji, but to Tatane Lovosuna Dushne. Da Yantabe, Kanabe Yantabe, Toa, Yantabe Legita. Any Karikota, Didi Chudimcha. That is Yantabe, Didi Chudimcha. Chudum level 2. Then 양답의 참바 양답의 띵인지 뒤 띵인지 그러지 전에 양답의 다와 도과 이런 거래 자 우리 정기면도 저는 어디 싫었지 다들 내가 보면 내거네 박벨람 토벌부터 바람랑 입은 매체 박벨람 문도 제약이 아니 야라게스 바람이라게스 다들 내가 좀 남는 차이도 아주 뭔 것이 뒤시도 다들 파라면에 개념을 찾아야 돼. 그래서 참고셔야. 저 뉴스 조시신샤 다 뒤에 파는 것도 되고. 다음 시간에 택매를 놓고 파는 토비야 릭디 박배 릭시사디. 소왕에는 이런 거고. 어디 기사가 박배 릭시 마차배 마차 퍼리트 달래 소샤디. 마차배 뭐
And then, with regard to the Eightfold Noble Path, there is even a sutra which is called the Sutra of the Eightfold Noble Path. So, according to that sutra, one can actually practice or cultivate these Eightfold Noble Paths from a beginner's level onwards. And so, therefore, when it comes to practicing the morality, what we have within the Eightfold Noble Path are the right living or right livelihood, and then right karma or action, and then right speech. And so these come within the category of practicing morality. And then within the practice of cultivation of concentration, single-pointed concentration, you have the right mindfulness and right concentration, which is one of these Eightfold Noble Path. And then within the practice of the wisdom or prajna, you have the right view and right thought. And so in this way, in order to reach in order to attain noble being's path, which is the path of seeing and onwards, one kind of prepares from this time onwards, and so that you integrate these practices within oneself in order to, with a view to reach the path of seeing and onwards. And therefore, within your practice, what you do is you be honest with others, and also you practice contentment and so forth. And so also with in the Vinaya or the Vinaya practice, Patimoksha practice, we have the practice of what are known as the four different called Arya lineages, or which means that you actually show contentment with regards to your clothing and food, livelihood, and so forth. And so, in this way, what you actually try to practice is detachment, and from you try to or overcome attachment towards the things, feelings, and so forth. And then, therefore, these are also termed as noble, called the four noble lineages.
Oh yeah. Then Bodhisattva, that tell ya, nyunju pangbe, that nyumon sang pangbe, and chawa, tarba, chik. That nyumon sabdo basebe, nyumon di shabe, pakja kyang pangbe, chengju chengbo.
And so, with regard to the term Bodhisattva, so Bodhi refers to enlightenment. And so, here enlightenment can be understood in terms of a mere liberation from negative emotions, destructive emotions. And once you have freed yourself from them, then you reach that kind of enlightenment. And then another level of enlightenment is the great enlightenment of Buddhahood, where you not only overcome these negative emotions alone, but you also overcome even the imprints, the latent potencies left by these negative emotions as well.
Chazanga, samba, rangdun, rangdu ishi zo sunya chik, tane lamdudan chik. That zo in rangdu ishi nimi sudani, chik shendun tuani zo chen, di tonen da chik. So the Hindu samba jachi jung, tell then jaw jachi jung, tell then drebu, numoza bangbe, and tarvachida, shiduyan bangbe, and tarvachambus nemindo, unit tamjikimbo, shed. The Nigona, the Taposhu Nisa Shaguyari, the Archik members in the Tabo members in Torjik is Shagamari, samba jachi runda, jaw jachi jung, drebu and the jachi jung, Diton Sundiari, these shifted.
And therefore, from the point of view of the motivation with which you enter into a path or practice or cultivate the path, we make distinction between the Mahayana and the basic vehicle. And so here, the distinction should be understood in terms of what kind of motivation you have in the beginning. And so when you do cultivate the path leading to enlightenment with a selfish motivation, more or less for your own self to reach the liberation, and also accordingly you engage in the path leading to that goal, and when you actually culminate into that goal, one can overcome negativities, the destructive emotions alone, and reach the nirvana of whereby you have overcome all the negative emotions alone. And whereas on the other hand, if you are motivated, if you actually see the shortcomings of or drawbacks of this kind of selfish motivation, and thereby if you motivate yourself to dedicate yourself for the welfare of other sentient beings more than oneself, and then accordingly engage in the path, what you reach is a goal, which is a total freedom from all negativities, not only the negative emotions, the kleshas, but also the latent potencies left by them, and thereby what you reach is the omniscient state of Buddhahood. And so in this way, we have to understand the distinction between Mahayana and Hinayana. And when we use these terms, we are not using it, and we don't mean to despise the basic vehicle as well. I mean, the basic vehicle as such. And so this distinction is in fact very clearly mentioned in Maitreya's the Sutra Alamkara.
The Maitreya and one Korean great Buddhist scholar, I think which century? Century Kudure. Wensik. 가지면도 들어도 또 힘들잖아. 저 왼식 너도 공적인 데봐 야옥십시도 땡긴 저리 디나리아 토미기 마토미서 참고고 여비용고 송도가 자자가 메이된적이 참고지 야 이해되지 사카데데적이 참고 쉬위는데 배지 다 주지소 저거 저리 여도 좀 셔신 말봐 저 참고고 이해셔.
So, with regard to the author Maitreya, according to one commentary by a great Korean scholar named Wensek, he may have lived in the 6th, 7th centuries. What he mentions is that Maitreya, he mentions the parents of, that Maitreya had parents.
The name of parent.
No.
Name of the parent of Maitreya.
So he mentions the names of his parents, his father and mother, which indicates that there was a human being who was called Maitreya at that time. Whereas if we refer to the Maitreya in the celestial realm, then we cannot talk about parents. And so we sometimes refer to Lord Maitreya as the future, the 5th Buddha, that coming Buddha. And so in that case, he cannot, since he's a celestial being, he cannot have parents as such. His birth would be considered as a miraculous birth.
So the basis of Four Noble Truth and all these explanation is based on the concept of Bodhisattva, law of causality. The meaning of Bodhisattva, there are two levels. One level, Interdependency. One level, Interfaith.
And so the first level of understanding of Bodhisattva or dependent origination is that of the law of causality, in terms of causality. And then the second level is the dependence by way of designation.
So the understanding Bodhisattva as a law of causality is common for all Buddhist four school of thought. Vibhashik, Sotantik, Chitta Mantra, and Madhyamika. Then the second deeper level of Bodhisattva, then Tawa. This is all
Yes. So the second level of understanding of Bodhisattva, which is dependence through designation, mainly is comes within the Madhyamika philosophical view.
So philosophical, Buddhist philosophical view, the main thing is the concept of Bodhisattva. That's something very unique.
Yes, she said. Bodhisattva means dependent origination.
Oh. Many of my friends, scientists, they love the concept of interdependency, interconnectedness. And the quantum physics, you mentioned, quantum physics actually investigate what is reality you can't find. So, Bodhisattva comes entirely due to other factor, not by itself. That does not mean nothingness. Things are there, but the things exist due to other factor, not by independently. So, one of my Indian friend, the nuclear physicist, Rajaramana, many years ago, we met in Delhi, some sort of meeting. So he told me he found the concept of quantum physics he found in Nagarjuna's writing. So as an Indian, he feels very proud. The quantum physics in the world, something new. But this country, 2000 years ago, already found that concept. He mentioned that. So recently I was in New York, some sort of lecture on Buddhism. And someone asked me, what is the preparation for
First step.
as a first step for investigate about emptiness? I mentioned study more quantum physics. First step. quantum physics 간에 다 주고 유직 능력하면 수다 수신 시작. 유직 능력하면 차이도 전에 패널 되기요. 다 때는다고 맞도 그렇죠. 다 차를 때는 줘.
And so, from the point of view of quantum physics, of course, in relation to matter we're talking about, what scientists find is that there's nothing objectively existing. And therefore, once you investigate into the matter and you're not able to find anything objectively existing, what you are left with is only to conclude that things are merely designated.
다요. 다 가사식 상담 다 되리. 똑배 딱좀 이는 여고야 여 말이야. 맨날 록시드 저디 콜콜로 로트티 다셔로다. 다 똑배 딱좀 뭐인 비쳐요 말이디 이네 똑배 딱세 여고야 말이. 자다지니 늦은 잡았음 타냐도 차고 임바. 텔라 타냐베 참으시기 메뉴바. 대사도 마세베 전담 주지기 지배자 메뉴바 디스tum그 때문에 다녀도 시작이요. 디스페 나가신 것도 와대.
And so, what is important here to understand is that when we say things are merely designated by our concepts and conceptions, whatever our conceptions kind of designate or label, it's not necessary that the thing should exist. But then there's nothing that exists without being designated through conception as well. And so how do we differentiate between what exists and what does not exist, although both are could be said to be conceptually designated? There are these three criteria for something to exist through a designation. The first criteria is that it is conventionally renowned to be existent, and then that this very existence cannot be undermined by other conventional valid cognitions as well. And then the third criteria is that it is not also cannot be undermined by thought or mental process which investigates into the ultimate reality of things as well.
Now full stop. Now for me, now time for my evening tea and one shower, then sleep. So next morning, usually 3 o'clock, wake up, and then some meditation, mainly analytical meditation. You see, these subjects which I mentioned already, you see, reflect these things and watching what's the nature of mind. Where is I? These are analytical meditation. Then more experience. Then, now for example here, also I never say I had fully developed the understanding about ultimate reality. I never say. But you see, I think over now 60 years, nearly I think 65 years, I made a lot of effort to understand these things. So when I remember about the ultimate reality, then all those peoples and all these things appears exists objectively. But remember, nothing objectively exists. So then, feeling of kasa,
the experience of seeing everything like an illusion happens.
So that is very, very helpful. You see, to shaking the basis of destructive emotion. That's the way to counteract, like acting sort of counter force all these destructive emotion, which based on ignorance. Like that. So, good night. See you again tomorrow.